Have you ever wondered if the history we were taught is actually true? I've spent 30 years digging into these things, and I can't sleep anymore. When you see these 10 things, I promise you won't sleep either. I'm Professor James Mitchell, University of California, Berkeley, and tonight I'm going to tell you what the textbooks have been hiding. 10 ancient artifacts that challenge everything modern science thinks it knows. Let's start with the smallest ones first, so you can see just how serious this problem really is. Number 10. The Klerksdorp spheres. Over a century ago, miners in South Africa dug up several metallic objects. They're small, only 2 to 10 centimeters across, fitting perfectly in your hand. They have a bluish red metallic sheen, polished smooth like steel ball bearings. But here's what's strange: 3 parallel grooves running around their equator, perfectly spaced, geometrically precise, as if turned on a modern machine. And they were found embedded in pyrophyllite rock dated to 2.8 billion years. 2.8 billion years, can you even picture that? Dinosaurs hadn't appeared yet, fish didn't exist, multicellular plants weren't around. Earth back then was nothing but single-celled microbes drifting in ancient oceans. So who made these perfectly shaped spheres, or what made them? Geologists say they're natural concretions, mineral nodules formed over time. Concretions are real, they form all over the planet, that much is true. But natural concretions don't have 3 perfectly parallel grooves. And natural concretions don't have surfaces that gleam like machined metal. I held one in my hand at the Klerksdorp Museum. It was heavy, cold, and there was something about it that gave me chills. And I couldn't help wondering, was there something here before us? Number 9. The stone spheres of Costa Rica. In the 1930s, workers clearing jungle found hundreds of stone balls. Some were small enough to lift with 2 hands, others were taller than a man. The largest weighs 16 tons, as heavy as 15 elephants. They were carved from gabbro, one of the hardest rocks on Earth. Today, stonemasons need diamond-tipped tools just to cut gabbro. The ancient Dekuys people had no iron, no bronze, just stone hammers and sand. Yet they created spheres that are nearly mathematically perfect. The deviation on a sphere over 2 meters across is only about 2 centimeters. Hundreds of spheres, made over centuries, all meeting the same impossible standard. This wasn't trial and error. This was a perfected method passed down through generations, but we have no idea what that method was. No tools found, no workshops, no half-finished spheres to show us the technique. The Dekuys left no writing, and Spanish missionaries arrived too late. Their oral traditions had already dissolved before anyone could record them. And the purpose of these spheres, we don't know that either. Maybe they were aligned in rows, maybe in clusters, maybe for astronomy. But the United Fruit Company destroyed the layout before anyone could map it. They rolled them aside, smashed them looking for gold, dynamited the largest ones. Today, these spheres sit on museum lawns, silent and perfect. And the people who made them left no trace of how or why. Number 8. The Nazca Lines. From 500 BC to 500 AD, the Nazca people of Peru drew on the earth. But not like any drawing you've ever seen. They drew on the driest plateau on Earth, where rain almost never falls. They drew on a massive scale, only visible from the sky. A hummingbird over 90 meters long, a monkey bigger than a football field. 800 straight lines, 300 geometric shapes, 70 animal and plant figures, spread across over 400 square kilometers of open desert. Their technique was simple. They removed dark pebbles to reveal lighter soil beneath. Simple technique, but it required extraordinary precision. The straight lines run for miles without deviating from their course. The curves are smooth across spans larger than stadiums. The proportions of the animals are anatomically correct. And the Nazca had no balloons, no towers, no mountain high enough. They couldn't see their own work from the only vantage point where it makes sense. So who were they drawing for? Their intended audience wasn't human, wasn't anyone standing on the ground. Their viewer was in a position the Nazca themselves could never reach. Maybe gods from above, or maybe someone else entirely. The Nazca civilization collapsed around 500 AD. Their language, cosmology, and understanding all faded into the desert. The lines remain, visible only from above, drawn by hands that could never see them. Number 7. The underground city of Derinkuyu. In 1963, a Turkish man was renovating his basement. He swung his hammer at a wall, and the wall gave way. Behind it was a dark passage leading down. He had no idea what he'd found. Archaeologists arrived and discovered an entire underground city. Derinkuyu descends 85 meters deep, with 18 levels carved into stone. It could shelter 20,000 people with livestock, schools, kitchens, and chapels. A ventilation system with over 50 vertical shafts still works after 2,000 years. And there are massive stone doors weighing hundreds of kilograms each. They could be rolled shut from inside, sealing off sections against any invader. Most experts believe the Phrygians started building it in the 8th century BC, but the deepest levels may be far older than that. And the biggest question, what were they hiding from? You don't carve a city 85 meters deep to escape bad weather. You don't install stone doors and multi-level defenses against ordinary enemies. Someone was terrified of something so terrible that an entire civilization went underground. I've been down to the 18th level. I could still breathe thanks to that ancient system. And I wonder, where is that threat now? Could it come back? Number 6. The Saqqara Bird. In 1898, French archaeologists in Egypt found a small wooden object. It was dated to roughly 200 BC. They called it a bird figurine. But something was wrong. It had no legs, no feathers, no eyes. Its wings were straight and tilted slightly downward, like a modern airplane wing. Its tail was vertical, like an airplane's tail, not a bird's. Aerodynamic engineers examined it and found it generated lift. They built replicas and launched them. They actually glided, even if only briefly. Did ancient Egyptians build a model glider 2,000 years ago? Or is all of this just one incredibly strange coincidence? It weighs only 39 grams, lighter than a chicken egg. But inside that shape lies a scientific mystery. And still, no one has given a convincing answer. Number 5. Puma Punku, high in the Andes, nearly 4,000 meters above sea level. There's a field of broken stones that defies explanation. The stones are andesite and diorite, the hardest igneous rocks on Earth. The largest block weighs 130 tons, equal to 15 elephants. They were transported from a quarry 80 kilometers away, across mountains, rivers, and brutal changes in elevation. The Tiwanaku people, around 536 AD, had no wheels, no draft animals, no iron, only stone hammers and copper tools, and yet the stones somehow made it here. And once they arrived, they were cut with precision down to fractions of a millimeter. The joints fit without mortar. You can't slip paper between them. The holes are perfectly parallel and circular, as if drilled by modern machinery. The right angles are sharp, as if cut by a CNC machine. This is the language of industrial fabrication, not hand tools striking stone. They chose the hardest rock, the most difficult to work with. They wanted these stones to last forever, long after their civilization vanished. Today, modern stonemasons come here and they fall silent. They understand what they're seeing, and they can't explain it with ancient tools. And I stood among those blocks, wondering if another civilization once existed here. Number 4. The Longyou Caves. In 1992, a Chinese farmer decided to drain the pond in front of his house. The locals called it the bottomless pond because the water never seemed to drain. He pumped it out and found a massive cave underneath. Not just one, but 20-foot caves carved from solid siltstone. Each cave rises up to 30 meters, as wide as a cathedral. The total volume of stone removed is over 1 million cubic meters. 1 million cubic meters of rock, hollowed from beneath rice paddies, dated to roughly 212 BC, or possibly much earlier. Not a single historical record mentions them, not one ancient text. The Chinese kept meticulous records, yet there's nothing about Longyou. And where did all the excavated stone go? No one knows. 1 million cubic meters of rock can't just disappear. But it did. No spoil heaps, no rock piles, nothing. Farmers worked the land above for 2,000 years without knowing what was beneath. The caves were sealed, flooded, and completely forgotten. Who built them? And why did no one record their existence? Number 3. The Baghdad Battery. In 1936, near Baghdad, Iraq, a clay jar was found. Inside it was a copper cylinder, an iron rod, and a bitumen seal. When filled with acid, This assembly generates about 1.1 volts of electricity. Scientists have reconstructed it and measured the current, not just theory. The show Mythbusters built one on camera and registered a charge. So the Parthians, around 200 BC, knew how to produce electricity. Alessandro Volta invented the battery in 1800, but someone beat him by 2000 years. What did they use it for? Electroplating. Acupuncture. No one knows for sure. Maybe they used it for lighting, or metal plating, or medical treatments. But that knowledge vanished, and humanity had to discover it all over again. The scariest part isn't the technology itself, it's how completely it was forgotten. Number 2. The Antikythera Mechanism. In October 1900, Greek divers pulled a corroded bronze lump from the sea. It was lying 45 meters underwater. They didn't know what it was. Not until 1902, when a researcher spotted gear teeth inside. But it took until the 1950s for scientists to truly understand its significance. It's a mechanical computer containing at least 30 bronze gears. You turn a crank, and it predicts the positions of the sun, moon, and planets. It predicts solar and lunar eclipses with astonishing accuracy. It tracks the moon's irregular orbit, a complex mathematical phenomenon, and it has a dedicated dial for the ancient Olympic Games. This device was built around 150 BC. Nothing similar appears in the historical record for over 1,000 years after. If that ship hadn't sunk, if those divers hadn't found it, we'd never have known. How many other machines like this are still sitting on the ocean floor? Number 1. Göbekli Tepe. In 1994, a shepherd in Turkey noticed a strange carved rock. Archaeologist Klaus Schmidt came and discovered an ancient temple complex. The limestone pillars stand 5 meters tall, weighing 20 tons, carved with animal figures. The date was approximately 9600 BC, 6,000 years older than Stonehenge. Built before agriculture, before pottery, before the wheel. The builders were hunter-gatherers, they didn't farm, yet they built something that modern technology would struggle to replicate. Wild wheat grew around the area, and geneticists discovered something startling. The first domesticated wheat came from a site less than 30 kilometers away. Maybe agriculture didn't create religion. Maybe religion created agriculture. The temple builders needed to be fed, and that need may have driven the first farming. And when they were done, they buried it, deliberately covering the temples with earth. They hid it for nearly 12,000 years, until a shepherd stumbled upon it. Klaus Schmidt passed away. He excavated less than 10% of the site. At least 16 more temples still lie buried beneath that hill. If you found any of this worth thinking about, leave a comment below. And don't forget to subscribe to Lost Ancient History so you can uncover more mysteries with me.